but nobody in my world, in my family's world, would have ever thought that there was, oh, you can make a living as that. There's a career that you can actually major in that. And so I've really spent my life sort of putting it aside, like, oh, that's just a hobby, that's just kind of fun, and then it just keeps sneaking up and just keeps coming back. So I've known from a really early age that this is the thing that I do. My parents used to wake me up after they would have a dinner party. I'd be 4 years old and they'd have a dinner party with their friends, and I'd be listening and sitting at the table for a little while. I'd go to bed. They would finish the dinner party and they'd wake me up, and I would do impressions of the friends, and they would laugh and laugh. And for the rest of the weekend, I'd be doing, Bob and Madeline or whatever, and, dressing up like them. And so, from a very early age, I was just a mimic. I was very interested in, just how people behaved, how they interacted, how they said things or how they didn't say things, but that actually said something. And so it's always been in my bones. It's just been in my heart. But the trick my whole life has been finding this circuitous route to what I'm doing now, which is finally really treating it as a career, as my main focus. And it's been really fun. I mean, I valued all the detours along the way. But yeah, those early days were, I used to worry when I was in middle school that I didn't really have a personality of my own, because I would, like, anybody I spent time with, I would immediately become them. I would, the gym teacher, the boys' gym teacher, big heavy set guy, would come in and talk to the class, and the rest of the day I'd be kind of like walking around, like it was just like, it was just innate, I just couldn't help but do that. But it's been another story to kind of find my way to it. And I've had a lot of really interesting detours. And that honestly has fed my career well as an actor, because I have so much experience doing other things and so many interactions with different kinds of people in different walks of life. So yeah, it's been a funny road, a really crazy road to get to where I am now.
When you look at it, what were some of those door opening opportunities first for you? A couple of things that were key, pivotal, even if it's at a high school level, college, whatever it is, where somebody or a few people noticed your talent and said, let's bring her in. Let's give her this opportunity.
Casper, Wyoming. Who would think? We had
he sat next to me in high school.
Casper, Wyoming. That's where I grew up.
He was across the aisle from manual labor.
Yeah, right. I mean, who's even been there? Does it even exist? It might be a dream.
Right.
But we had, for no good reason, an extraordinary high school theater program. And the guy that ran it was just such a pro and had so much experience. And I just got a really good foundation there, mostly musical theater. And he was just great. And I stood out and I got a lot of attention for that. So I went to college fully intending to major in theater. And I got there and didn't love the theater department. Majoring in math was way faster. So I got out early by majoring in math. And then I was walking across campus to order my cap and gown and declare my major. I was already done, but it was middle of junior year. I was going to graduate in 3 months. I'd already done all my stuff. You just didn't have to declare your major until you were a junior. And I was about ready to graduate. All of a sudden I froze in the middle of the campus. And I was like, oh, crap. You have to do something after college. I had kind of forgotten about that. And so I really had this just moment of, like, as it happens so often in life, the big decisions kind of happen. Just a big rush of like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I was like, oh, I was going to be an actor. I want to be an actor. So I went ahead and declared my major, did not order my cap and gown. And I stayed for another semester. I did a couple plays and I started auditioning for MFA programs. And even with no training, no, bachelor's degree in theater, I got waitlisted at the National Theater Conservatory, almost got in. And then I got into Circle in the Square in New York, which is a great MFA program. So that was like a nice validation that, yeah, there's something going on here. There's something great. Then I went, didn't love it, didn't want to continue being in school. I just wanted to get out and do life. So, stepped away. And then that was the first, step away and then getting drawn back in. But that was some really early validation that, you can do this. It's just, I just wasn't really ready. I needed to kind of get another foundation under my belt in a different way. So that was step one, I would say.
That's an important one.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yes, which I think is fantastic. Tell
yeah,
us about how growing up in places like, and being born in Colorado and having the, exposure to that lifestyle, very beautiful. I was telling you, I was on a couple of television shoots out there and we filmed
yeah,
at Red Rocks, and very, very special, and went to the Mother Cabrini Shrine and just really fell in love with it. And then, of course, the experiences of growing up in Wyoming as well, because a lot of times you always hear about New York and Chicago and LA and Nashville, but
yeah.
you have the sensibilities of the Colorado exposure and Wyoming. How does that tweak play into and enhance your work as an
Yeah.
artist?
Well, I really have to thank my parents, even though they didn't really understand what a career in this would be like, and didn't encourage me in that direction. In my growing up, it would be foolish to think that you could go to New York and be an actor. That's not something anybody does. So that was the downside. But what I really got from my parents was a real value on education, a real value on curiosity about the world and about the people of the world in every form that they take. And so, because we are, you're generally isolated in Wyoming in a lot of ways. I traveled from a very early age. They put a big priority on that. So I was the youngest. By the time I could, reasonably pack my bag and stay awake through the day, we would travel in the summer around the world. And I was exposed to a lot of the world that you might not have been if you grew up in New York and had the world at your fingertips. But we really took purposeful trips around the world. And I really credit my parents with giving me that natural curiosity, that real, now ingrained sentiment that every person has a full, interesting life that is probably so different than yours. What's that about? And that is the cornerstone of being a good actor, I think, is how do I take on the life of this other person? How do I walk into this whole world that's been created and be a part of that? And it's nothing like the way I live. And so I really, that I got from my family, even though there was no leap from there to, and therefore, because of all these crazy shows you put on in the backyard, you should go to Second City in Chicago, or nobody knew what that was. There was no, just all knowledge of what a career in this would be like, there's just nothing there. But I did get, a really good education and a really good introduction to the world, that has served me well, in this career.
It's really amazing when you look back, some of those earlier influences too, back in 2004, which is like, wasn't that 10 minutes ago?
Oh yeah,
2004? When you
yeah,
think, oh my God. But your resume has continued to just flourish.
yeah,
People really want to work with you. You did the short Killing Kevin back in 2004, playing Dr. Bonner. I mean, just even in the beginning there, and then moving on to Silver City and
yeah,
skills like this and Dig and the Big Fat Lazy
yeah,
Sun and Serotonin Rising, Puck Neck, Saucy Flyer, UFO, PI, that you had never called, and
yeah.
ear- Earning the Day, Life Talk too. Now that was something really near and dear to your heart for a specific reason, right?
Lift talk. So all of those things that you mentioned, these are all just wacky films that well, Silver City was a John Sayles film with Chris Cooper, Daryl Hannah. It was a real film that shot in Colorado, and I auditioned and got to be a part of that. There were a few local actors that got to be a part of it, so I was really lucky to have that experience. But everything else that you just mentioned was me living in Denver, raising my kids, and just finding every opportunity to have fun making films with friends, or somebody would have a project and I would, those were all smaller projects, local. There are so many great, talented people that live in Colorado that have come from other places, that work in other places, that go, they'll go shoot all over the world, but they have chosen to live here and raise their kids here. And I'm lucky to be in with that group. And if we want to make a movie over the weekend or for the 48-hour film festival, that's really what kept me going.
Hmm.
Those years that I was raising kids, I ended up as a single mom, not what I planned. So I was really committed to being here and seeing that through. I knew during that time frame I did not want to move to LA, New York, or be working out of town a lot, but I really wanted to still be involved. And at that time, I was making a living primarily as a theater actor at that time. So I did some long running shows in Colorado, worked at every, regional and equity theater in town. And so I'm really proud of being able to say for about 10 years, I eked out a living doing some of the things you did, industrial videos, hosting things. There's so much on camera stuff that happened that isn't what people think of, not a scripted show or not a, something you would ever see, but I was on camera a ton, did probably 125 commercials over 10 years. So I was really just doing everything I could in the arts. I created 2 businesses when my kids were young that were acting related. One was teaching really emotional intelligence in schools. My kids were very young when Columbine happened in Colorado, and there was a big movement to incorporate bully proofing and emotional intelligence. And so I created this whole program that was based around acting and storytelling and getting kids up on their feet. What would you do? Here's a scenario. And we act it all out. So I was doing all those things concurrently in Denver, keeping myself busy, had a bunch of performance-based activities. And I knew that once my kids were grown and gone, then I could get out in the bigger world. And so what is it? My first credit with Better Call Saul, that was about 2017, 2018. So by then, kids are grown and gone. I'm ready to, hoof it out of Denver and start auditioning elsewhere. And boy, was that a good one to start on. Can you
I was
imagine?
going to say the first big credit, Better Call Saul. I mean, how did that happen, that opportunity?
I just auditioned. We would occasionally, as actors in Denver, we would occasionally, when Breaking Bad was happening, we would occasionally get to be put on tape in Denver, and the casting people would supposedly look at it. And there were a few people from Denver that got lucky enough to get on Breaking Bad, and they were often kind of character-y people. I auditioned probably 4 times for Breaking Bad, never heard anything back. So finally, when my kids were gone, Better Call Saul was happening, and I said, look, if there's an audition, get me in the room. I'll drive down there. Like, it's not that far. It's a beautiful drive. So I started doing that. And immediately, I would say within, 3 or 4 auditions in New Mexico.
I think that if you had taken a clip from our conversation with how the background has now changed and that square has become a rectangle, you might have got the Breaking Bad part, because now it looks like you're in a cell.
I know. Now it looks like a jail cell.
It looks like that would have been.
There's light. Yeah, but I apologize. It's kind of amusing.
No, it's cool. I like it's an ever-changing background. It's really cool. Folks, just so you know, it's not a green screen. It's really real.
Yeah, that's really happening.
It is funny.
Colorado light.
Lip Talk, you had mentioned, that really was something. I mean, you wrote and everything in that, right? That was a immersive project for you.
Yeah, it was a really cool, and it's really fun. I think you can find it on Vimeo or something. It's ridiculous and hilarious. But that group of people, we're called Cinema Geeks. It's a group of filmmakers in Denver, and they're all like real filmmakers, like real credits, really good stuff. But we all met doing the 48-hour film festival, and one of their films, a couple of their films have gone on and won internationally at if you participate in the 48-hour film festival and you win in your region, you go on to a bigger competitive area. Then there's a United States screening of the top winners from everywhere. They eventually go to Cannes. They go to the Cannes Film Festival. And so 2 of our films got picked up there. And so we became known as like sort of an award-winning short film making group. And we got approached by, I think it was New Belgium or something like that, to make a film based on a group of friends that were out skiing. So we made this movie called Lift Talk, and it was about what's the greatest ski movie ever made. And these friends are having this conversation, and it all takes place on a ski lift. So we just skied all day and kept doing different shoots. Sometimes the camera would be right next to you, sometimes it'd be in front of you, sometimes it'd be down below. We had such a blast. It was so fun. It was a long ski day, though. It was a lot of runs.
What's it like? Some of these shows that you've had an opportunity to be a part of, they're already established, and there's already that sort of working relationship with the crew and the cast. What is it like coming into then joining an ensemble that's already there and established and sort of has their way, and then they bring in and welcome you into their world? What's that like?
It's really intimidating at first. That was really, I didn't anticipate how how nervous that was going to make me at the beginning. You know, you think, okay, you're a little bit nervous when you audition and maybe you get called back and then you get it. Okay, you got the role. Oh boy, now I have to go do it and I'm going to show up and these people all know each other. And, you know, I had been on sets a lot, you know, different variety of sets, but you feel like it's going to be, you know, more intimidating or people are going to, there's going to be more pressure. But I have found, and maybe I've just been lucky, but the shows I've worked on, people have been so welcoming. And then I think it's because I see my job at this level as being, first of all, thank you for letting me come play on Better Call Saul, which I think is one of the best TV shows ever made. I feel so honored to be here. How can I help? I see myself as a problem solver. I see myself as that little tiny puzzle piece, and I'm going to color it in to the best of my knowledge, finishing touches when I get on set to see what I think might actually make it really fit. And then my little puzzle piece is going to fit right in there and it's just going to make it all complete. And you have to be really, it's not about you. I heard some actors talking recently. I thought it was really interesting. They were talking about this exact thing, these co-star roles, these sort of like 1, 2, 3, 4 day players. And one of them was saying, I think you need to go on there and make really bold choices and make sure they remember you so that you make the cut. And I was like, I think that's so wrong. I think it is this level. It is so not about you personally. It's about how well you can read the room, read what that person needs. You are there giving that person who's carrying this whole show this little bit of added information for what they need. How can you support them? So I see myself in a real support position. I just see myself as a workaday problem solver. It's interesting. Every time in my life, I have done one of those questionnaires that say what, you know, what should you be doing for a career? There was one that was used to be called what color is your parachute? Something like that. Anyway, anytime I do one of those, it always comes up as I'm supposed to be an ombudsman. And an ombudsman is someone who's a mediator or a problem solving. And so I feel like that's what I'm doing as an actor. I'm coming in and I'm taking into account everything. What's hair and makeup like? How much time do they spend on this? Are the actors happy? Are they talking to each other? Am I going to have any time to talk to these lead people before I work with them? Are they going to want improvisation? Are they going to want me to stick by the book? And you just feel all this stuff and then come up with what you think is the solution. And I love that puzzle. I love that problem. So I've really enjoyed it. And I've gotten now when I get something and I walk in, I mean, the most recent, I just worked on Jesse Armstrong's new movie. Jesse Armstrong wrote and created Succession. And I walked on to, you can look it up on IMDb, and it's just, I almost can't bring myself to say the names of the people that are in it and who I spent the day with. But, you know, it's at a level that, you know, it's as good as it gets. And so to walk in there confidently and say, how are you guys doing? You've been shooting for a couple of weeks. I'm coming in, I'm serving this process. What do you need? And just really be ready to do it all. We improvised our faces off. We got a new page of script that we had to incorporate right away. We had to get the lines exactly right, which is tricky in that style of writing. Have you seen Succession? Do you know it's all overlapping and finishing sentences, and it's a real feel thing, but it's scripted like that. So they want it like that. They want you to have the facility to be able to do it really naturalistically, exactly the way it's written, and then riff, then see what happens when you riff. And then they'll come out and say, okay, we love that. Now so just really being able to say, yeah, I want to play with you guys. How can I help? What do you want me to do? And be really open, heart open, ready to do all that. That's what it takes. And it's really fun. A little bit of it, the high wire.
It is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But every role is a challenge. Every role sort of, gets the adrenaline going, and you take it and you make it your own and you put your little twist on it. And, you were mentioning being the ombudsman. I get that. I tend to be that person too in my area of television, radio and all, going in and assessing and seeing, okay, there's a fire over there. There's a flood over there. Everything's working over there. How do we bring people together? How do we even things out? How do we make sure everybody gets what they need? And you sort of oil the wheel there, so things are going along nicely. And in order to do that, as you do it, it does take emotional intelligence. When you go in, you like to feel things, right? You're a feeler. You go deep with a lot of things, and you want to try to bring it all together and sort of see it as a as a team effort.
Yeah. And I think the more as an actor you get out of your head about what you are doing in that moment, what you, Amie, the actor, is doing in that moment, the sooner you get out of that headspace, the better you are. The sooner you get into what is my character doing? How is my character taking in that information? So that attitude of how do I fit in? How do I make this work? Oh, this is my 1923 typewriter. Great. I can work with it. You know, as soon as you start connecting with everything and everyone on the set, then your own fears and agenda and insecurities and all that kind of melt away, and then you really are there. So it's a great attitude to have, because the last thing you want to do when the camera's about to roll and you're in a scene with Nathan Lane or, you know, some of these, you know, rock stars that I've worked with, is be thinking, oh, what am I going to do? Like, what, you know, you want all that gone. You want to be completely in their world. So I think that attitude really helps you immerse yourself in the task at hand, and it doesn't have anything to do with you questioning yourself. You know, it's really about, I don't know, it helps me. I've never once, when I actually, sometimes the night before, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be sitting with Nathan Lane for 3 days. Holy moly, what's that going to be like, tossing and turning a little bit. But as soon as I get there, and boy, those sets are amazing and your wardrobe is perfect and you look like somebody completely different, I have never once felt like I've had to reach for it. You know, it's just instantly there, because everybody else's impeccable work makes your job so much easier. So yeah,
Everybody brings their A game. Yeah.
man, oh, I really had that feeling on the first time I really had that feeling was on 1923.
Oh yeah.
Every article of clothing I wore was made in the 20s. I was just in 2 scenes, but they're really cool. They're really fun. Where I'm just a receptionist who's mean. I'm just mean and awful and pinched and just ungodly. She's just awful. But they had, for that quick scene, created a desk for me, created the entire building interior. I probably had 100 artifacts at my fingertips for that character. Pens and quills and papers and clips and the typewriter and little tiny vase of faded flowers and the bell at the top. I mean, I'm not kidding, like 100. It was a full desk in front of me, and then the typewriter and the chair, and they brought out 3 different little pairs of glasses to wear on the end of my nose. And everybody's just bustling around, like you said, working at their A game. And by the time they said cameras are up and we're rolling and action, I did nothing. I was there. There was no choice but to be that person in that scene, in that moment, doing that thing. I felt like I was just carried right along. And boy, was that like everything just kind of crystallized and the scene happened. And it was, you know, you get very few takes. You get very few takes to redo for the actor. That was a surprise to me. You know, when you go onto a set, you'll walk onto set and they'll do a camera rehearsal. Like you're standing there and they're like, where are the cameras going to be? Where are they going to start? Where are they going to end? Okay, here's where your face is. You need to hit that mark. Then you go away while they set up the camera. Your stand-ins are standing in, so they have a face to look at. When you come back to do the scene, you do the scene. There's very little, if any, like rehearsal at that level. So you got to count on everybody doing their thing, and then you slide right in. So yeah, stakes are high. That's the high wire part of it. But I love it. I love it.
You do, absolutely. And you can tell. Tell us how Dexter came your way.
Yeah. So what I worked on is Dexter Original Sin. So it's the new series that came out. When did it come out? Maybe November of last year. Not that. That's not the show. So it's a prequel to Dexter. So the Dexter, yeah. So Dexter Original Sin casts 2 young actors, Patrick Gibson and Molly Brown, as Dexter and his sister. Christian Slater is in Dexter Original Sin, the series I was in, as their father. And they go back to Dexter's roots when he was college and early days as a forensic investigator. And so I was in the pilot for that. And I played Christian Slater's doctor. So I had a scene with the 2 leads. And then
how cool is that, huh?
Come on. I mean, come on. Are you kidding me?
And to be a part of that franchise of Dexter at all is just...
Yeah. And I had watched it over the years, not really avidly, but I dug into some of it. And then I did watch the whole Dexter Original Sin. And I would say to people out there watching, if you haven't seen all of Dexter, I think you can jump into Dexter Original Sin and watch it and be wildly amused. I think it's great. But if you have seen all of Dexter, what I'm hearing from the real diehard Dexter fans is that the Original Sin prequel has all these great Easter eggs hidden in there. Like, oh, that's why, this character in season 4 of Dexter did this because they set it up, just all these really great Easter eggs from, songs that they're listening to clothes that they're wearing, to characters that they bring in very briefly and then they disappear. It's just, so I think there's some real fun to be had, and it just got renewed for a second season. So that's exciting. The young people, the guy playing Dexter, Patrick Gibson, and then Molly Brown playing the sister. They're playing Deb. They're just amazing because they, that's a lot, big shoes to fill, right? Like these really established characters, and you're playing the younger version. So you've of course got to acknowledge the whole canon of the original Dexter, but they're really making them their own, and they're really having a ball just digging into those characters and playing them as the younger versions. It's really fun. It was super fun.
It's cool, isn't it? And then you have an opportunity to, dive in head first and just, like I said, make it your own. And coming into a franchise like that, exists, and then they take it to that other level. And then you're in the pilot as well. I mean, that's fantastic.
That's really cool. And the interesting story on that one too, when you're talking about what's it like to come in, and just kind of fit into the puzzle. I had such an interesting audition for that one where, the character I played was a woman in her 50s who was a doctor, and the year is, say, 1990. So as I start to think about that, if you're a doctor in her 50s in 1990, 30 years ago is when you were going through medical school. That's the 60s. What was it like to be a woman in medicine in the 60s? Like, not fun, I would imagine. And so my imaginings for this character when I auditioned is that she is either tough as nails and like, don't mess with me. Like, she literally starts everything with fists up, like, don't, I am here and I am boss, and that she's had to fight her way to get there. Or she's made her way by being very deferential. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to step on any toes, but this is what, like she's got to be one of those two things, right? Very different choices. So I turned in 2 takes that were diametrically opposed. I book it and I don't know which one they want. On the day when I show up, I'm like, so am I going to play
version, right?
Today? As this, I'm sorry, I didn't mean, am I interrupting? Can I do, like she was all fidgety and had her pen and like drop things. I'm like, oh God, oh, sorry, I said that, she was just apologizing. Or am I playing it like, hey, you, Christian Slater, look at me.
Mm-hmm.
She swears in it, and she's like, so I didn't know if she swears, and then she's like, oh God, I can't believe I said that. Or if she's, so it was fun. And I thought, well, and he didn't say anything about it. And like I said, you come in the first time the camera is rolling, and I just did a take, and he seemed very happy with it. And I was like, okay, I think
which version is closer to the real Amie?
I think I'm a little bit of both. I think I'm a little bit of both. Or, right, I can be whatever I need to be whenever I get the sense of what's going to work best. I think I can be the heavy when I need to be, surprisingly. But I think more often than I'm not. I'm more likely to kind of kill him with kindness as a starting. And then if that doesn't work, then
it's like,
surprise.
Keep it moving, folks.
Yeah.
Clear the traffic. Right. Yeah, exactly.
And we want to see the Kraken that gets unleashed if this doesn't work. So let's work this out nicely.
Mountainhead. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's the Jesse Armstrong thing. And I can talk about this because it's been announced in Deadline and Variety that I'm
very exciting, huh?
So let's look at this picture and see who we have here. Little Steve Carell on the left, little Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah.
Corey Michael Smith, whose face you see, facing the camera on the right. He just played Chevy Chase in the movie about Saturday.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Wonderful actor. He actually spent some time in Denver doing some theater, so we had a lot to talk to. He's the one that I interacted with most in our scene. And then with the back to the camera is Rami Youssef, who's an amazing actor. He's a comedian. He has his own show. He was in Poor Things. I don't know if you saw Poor Things. He played the...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Assistant who she ends up marrying. He's kind of this, passive, like, okay, I'll go do that. He's amazing, amazing. So those 4, the tagline they're saying, I think Mountainhead is a play on Fountainhead. perhaps.
I like that.
So they're all billionaires and they're on a boys' retreat in the midst of an international crisis that they probably have some sway in. And Rami Youssef was interviewed and said, it's going to be funny in the same way that Succession was funny.
You're right.
Funny. You're laughing going, oh my God.
Yeah.
It is so crazy. The little glimpse I got, and I've read the script, so I know that, but the little glimpse I got of the day, they are making something so cool and so crazy. And that's all I can say about it. It drops on HBO Max on May 31st, just wrapped shooting, and it's dropping in May.
Wow.
That's what you can accomplish when you're Jesse Armstrong and you have this facility with working quickly like you do in TV. So they were pretty focused on their vision. I think it's going to be pretty spectacular. I have my part of it, and then when I got done shooting, they kept me and the other two people that were in our scene for a little while in case we needed to be sort of in the back while other things were happening. So we got to sit there and eat our lunch and watch a scene they were filming with those guys on these monitors. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so good. I cannot wait to see it. So put that on your alert me when this comes out, because I think it's going to be really fun.
It's going to be great.
I have not seen that picture yet. That's a really cool picture.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but Steve Carell, look at that. I mean, oh,
talk about variety and having the incredible ability to take on all these different roles. You were also, and again, this is very topical lately, but the storyline, of course, the Lyle and Menendez story, Monsters. How did this come your way?
Yeah, that was just an audition. That is, Monsters is an anthology series. So the first one was Dahmer.
Right.
And I just got the audition through my agent in LA. And the first episode I auditioned for, I booked it. And then the role was canceled. And so my agent called and said, oh, I'm so sorry. That role was canceled. But they want you to come read for the second episode. It's just a different director. So they don't want to just hand it to you. They want to make sure that this other director also approves. So I read first, and it was a kind of a similar sort of character, but it was a much bigger scene. So I ended up booking that, and it was 3 full days. Oh God, what's the episode number? I can't remember. Episode 6, maybe. But Nathan Lane plays Dominic Dunn in that. Dominic Dunn was the big Hollywood crime writer. His daughter was murdered. And so he became this, anytime there's a murder in Hollywood, he was at the forefront writing.
He was there, right?
Yeah, amazing. He was an amazing thinker, writer, and speaker. He was a really compelling guy. I did a deep dive on him about 10 years ago for no good reason. So I already knew who he was. And then Nathan Lane playing Dominic Dunn. And we were at a dinner party. There were just 5 of us at the dinner party talking in depth about the case. And it was just a platform for Dominic Dunn to share his view of the case as we all chimed in. So I didn't have I had the scene plays for about 15 minutes as you interject to things that he's talking about. But it took 3 14-hour days to shoot that, because they got it from every angle. And then they got all of our lines from every angle. And then the experience of watching Nathan Lane do take after take after take. I don't think he ever, there was one take where I remember he took a little bit too long between 2 words or between 2 thoughts. And he finished it. He didn't stop in the middle, but he got done. He said, I'd like to do that again, that one time. And then another time, in 3 days of 14-hour days, I think there were only 2 takes where he said, I'm not happy with that one. Isn't that amazing? I mean, that's a theater performer. That's someone who's used to doing 8 shows a week and getting it out. And each take of it, like each take was subtly nuanced differently and delivered so earnestly. And, it wasn't just like I'm singing the national anthem now, and this is how I always sing it. It was just a actor's masterclass getting to watch him. So that was the takeaway from that one. But yeah, it was really great. And again, like the wardrobe and so crazy, the way I looked. I had somebody see that afterwards, and they said, why did they do that to your face? And I was like, they didn't really do anything to my face. That is really my face. It was just the lighting. And I had this crazy extreme hair and this weird dress, and she's smoking all the time. I played this Like you would not know it was me. I had people that I know well who saw it and didn't know it was me. But it wasn't, I mean, maybe it was my acting contribution, but I also think it was just like such a vision of this. We were described as Hollywood gorgons, just these rich people sitting there chatting about the murders. And oh God, really? Did you, they're just nasty, nasty people. But it was so fun. It was so fun.
That is so cool. Great story. And again, that's a great storyline too. MacGruber, you were in that as well.
Yes.
Yes.
God, Kristen Wiig and Will Forte. Are you kidding me?
Mhm.
Talk about lifetime heroes. I just had a quick scene with Kristen Wiig, and she had a big load that day. She was very kind of protective of her time and energy, but she was so fun. We got to watch her improvise. And then at one point, Will Forte was not shooting that day, but he was, helping direct and helping. So he came to watch the whole thing. And at one point, he and a friend were. I was on a stage at a podium presenting a huge award. I had this big speech about presenting this award to Kristen Wiig's character, and so they were setting up cameras, and I was standing there so that they could frame it. And Will Forte and his friend were sitting there pointing at me and laughing, just giggling and laughing. And I'm kind of like looking around, like, what's going on? Like, is my fly undone? I'm wearing an evening gown, so my fly wasn't undone. But I'm like wondering what it was. So later he came and found me and he said, we weren't laughing at you. We just had this effect where there's this crumpled up piece of paper under the thing. We just thought it was so funny. So he and I ended up talking for about an hour. And oh my God, he was so fun. He was just really giving and really interested in everything. And we laughed so hard. And I'm in this evening gown and I've got no tissue, no nothing. And I'm crying. My mascara is starting to run. My nose is running. And he just offered his shirt. So I have the distinction of being able to say I wiped my nose on Will Forte's shirt. And he loved it. No, he was really kind. He was like immediately as if we were old friends and we'd been making silly movies together forever. And he was just having a ball. Can you imagine anything more fun? Like get your best friends together and make the silliest, greatest movie you can imagine. And you get to do it however, like they did the script and then they riffed and then Will Forte would be yelling at Kristen Wiig, okay, now say this. And she'd giggle and then she'd say something, then she'd add to it. I mean, have fun, it was just so fun to watch them playing on their playground.
Talk about fun working with RuPaul and AJ and the Queen.
Oh man, that one was great. That one was pretty early on. And that was a super fun one. That the young actor is now a teenager, Izzy G. She was just in a series called Under the Bridge, where I don't know if you saw it, but she plays like really disturbed. It's based on a true story. And man, I knew then that she was a powerhouse actor and she's really, keep an eye on her. And then RuPaul, I mean, he was so gracious and he's, it's a lot of energy to work with a kid. Right. And I don't know how old he was at the time, but not super young. And man, he treated her so well and had so much fun with her and knew exactly how to kind of work it. And he was really gracious. Who else was in our scene was Michael Cyril Crichton. And he's now, in Only Murders in the Building. He's the kind of funny neighbor, with the big glasses. It kind of like, yeah. So he was really fun. It's fun to see him go on and do amazing things. And he and I were just like at the same level on that day, just having fun. Mary Kay Place was in our scene. So I got to hang out with her I think I had 4 or 5 days on that. And boy, was she amazing. What a career she has had. Right. And she was just so comfortable on set and really fun. And, people at that level, they're very interested in the new people. They're just like, they're eager to know, like, oh, where did you come from? What, oh, that was wonderful. How do they're generous with compliments and just really treat you as if you're one of the gang. And yeah, it was really delightful. That was a delightful project. And I liked it. I recommend it. I think it was really fun watch.
How do you separate yourself from the characters? Sometimes people will say, I got so immersed in that character. It just really consumed me. I was rehearsing and doing it and I was dreaming about it. And during the day driving the car, I'm thinking about it. And am I even becoming that character? And some people have had experiences where they almost can't separate themselves from the character and the emotion and the depth of it. What are some of the ways that you've learned to be able to make sure that Amie is still Amie,
Yeah.
but you're able to effectively play that role.
Yeah. Well, in my film and TV foray, just breaking into this, my roles have been pretty small and pretty specific. I just came off a film where I had 7 days on set and I played a mother who finds out her son gets drafted and she's devastated. And it was a lot of time. It was 7 days over the course of 4 weeks. So you kind of had to always hold on to parts of that character and really think about what it was like to be a mother in the 60s when, Vietnam is going on and assassinations and all. So there was like some, I'm holding on to a lot for that. But that's a longer project for me. But I definitely have had that experience with theater, when you're in a theater production and you rehearse for 2 weeks and then you're doing 8 shows a week for 6 weeks and you have to be that person sometimes twice a day. That can be super intense. I have had a couple where I feel like I have to, like, you have PTSD a little bit. You have to do all the things you have to do, just locking in and getting good sleep and eating really, really well and cutting out anything that isn't critical in your life, just really shut down for a while. But I have a trick for, sometimes we get auditions, like the audition for this film with the mother whose son gets drafted. We had to, there's a scene where she first finds out that he's getting drafted and it's her only son, oldest child of 12 children. This is based on a real family. And she's just sobbing. Just, I think in the script it said wailing and sobbing. So you have to build up to that. You have to reach to that point. And then, I'm recording my audition in the comfort of my own home. And then I have to go about my day. And this is so crazy. But I have found the best trick. You know how when you get an earworm for a song, how you get a song stuck in your head? Do you have a good song eraser? Do you have a good song that you hum to get rid of an earworm?
That's a good question. Mm.
If you don't, the one that works every time for me is the girl from Ipanema. Like whatever.
Oh, yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
It's
That's a good one.
it's
Yeah.
catchy
A
enough that
little bossa nova. Yeah.
but it's not catchy enough. You want to get rid of it. Like I've never had that stuck in my head all day. And that works to cleanse yourself of a character. So I've had auditions where I have to just, be really awful to someone or screaming and trying to break out a window or just like completely ramped up. And when I get all done, it's all recorded. I just walk around my house singing The Girl from Ipanema. In 15 minutes, I'm good to go.
Do you use
So,
that same technique when you're waiting in line at the DMV?
yeah, that might be good. Yeah, when you have slow rage building, I'll have to try that. That's a good suggestion.
That's either that or go out the window, right?
Yeah, right.
It really is amazing, the breadth and scope. This is something a little bit more recent for you that I know is
Elsbeth.
yeah, tell us about this one.
Elsbeth. So she created that character on The Good Wife. I don't know if you watched it.
Yes, yeah, yeah, on
She
CBS.
came in as probably a guest star in.
It's Christine Baranski, right? The Good Wife. Yeah.
Yeah, Good Wife.
Yes.
And I never know how to say her name, Margot Lise or whatever.
Oh, yes,
I think it's
yes.
Good Wife, and then Baranski stayed with it as they did. What's this offshoot? Oh gosh, The Good Lawyer? No, I can't remember. But anyway, so Elsbeth, she created this character, and she's kind of like a, really, really smart, really figures things out, but kind of is odd and maybe a little bit maybe a little bit spectrumy, just a little bit like, oh, I see that you're wearing that tie that way, and I've got to, she's just kind of like, she's really focused and really odd. And then they kept bringing her back in The Good Wife, and she was such a good character there. So this is a spin-off of that character, and she solves a crime in every episode. And in our episode, it was Keegan Michael Key who was the bad guy. And so I got to hang out with him for the day. And I have a very, very small role in it. But boy, that was my first time booking something in New York. I proceeded to book 3 or 4 more things in New York since then. And so it was a good way to get to New York, get myself set up there, get there for the shoot day, see what it was like. And we had this small scene, and the other 2 actors that were in the scene with me are these amazing Shakespearean actors, like go all over the country doing Shakespeare, work at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. And so I was like, oh, I'm in good company in this little, it's amazing what kind of people they get doing these small roles. Like these are it's not like, you go from being an extra to just being able to do those. I was like, oh man, I'm super lucky to be here. But we shot in Sleepy Hollow, which I don't know if you've ever been,
Oh
but
yeah. How
beautiful.
cool that is,
Oh,
huh?
so cool. And it was like a hazy day in March, and it was really fun. So the episode was really fun. And yeah, just that was a great day.
That is so cool. So many
Yeah.
great experiences that you've had, and something that is coming up as well. And there's quite a few projects that are coming up for Amie.
Yeah, that's actually out. That is out now. Have you
It
seen?
is out. So it's out now.
Oh,
Great.
and my
Tell
scene is,
us about it.
you know who I got to work with, who's not even pictured here, which I think is so cool, is Nestor Carbonell.
Oh boy. Wow.
He just won an Emmy for Shogun. He's in everything. He's in everything. He's amazing, and he plays, sort of training doctor who's training the younger doctors. And I have a great scene with him and Jack Bannon, who plays one of the lead guys in there. And it's just it is the greatest scene. It's just a 3-minute freestanding, like you don't have to know anything about the story to watch our scene and be amused. And man, there's a great example of people at a really high level being so gracious. And so like Nestor just made everybody feel so comfortable. Every time between takes, we would just go talk. He has 2 boys. He and his wife have 2 boys. I have 2 boys. And we just found so much in common. And he was asking me all sorts of questions about what I'm doing, and really complimentary. And it was just, yeah, I really felt like I belonged on that set. And it was super fun. It turned out really well. And I like the show. It's getting some heat. It's getting some eyeballs, and I think it's good. I think the discussions that are happening around what's in that show are really good. The Pit is also another I'm not in The Pit, but that's another ER show that I think is creating some good conversation.
Tell us about what the Pulse is all about for those who are going to
Yeah,
now look for it.
yeah, it's on Netflix now, and it's sort of been billed as Netflix's, is that how you say the plural of Netflix? Netflix
True.
apostrophe S.
Right?
The medical show for Netflix. And
For
so
the
it's
network named Netflix. Right.
the Grey's Anatomy of Netflix. And it just profiles a group of young doctors in an ER and their personal lives, and then the patients, and brings up some timely issues of the day with healthcare. And, all these shows are, it's good to look at our healthcare system and look at what's happening in these ER doctors, especially after COVID, when, I think it really came to light how heroic those people were and are every day, and how grateful we are that they are there when we need them. So it's great drama. That's a great platform for drama. And I just think it's really well done. It's really clean and tight and beautifully shot. It takes place in Miami, which is kind of fun. There's not usually a lot about Miami, so it's fun to see that. The Pit takes place in Pittsburgh, same thing. Like, not a lot of shows that highlight those areas. So it's really fun to see those.
That is great. That's really cool.
All the episodes of the Pulse, all the episode of Pulse are out now on Netflix.
So everything is all out now too.
Binge it away. You can binge it to your heart's content.
So many great things too. Like Station 19 is another one. Hightown. I mean, the
Yeah.
list goes on and on. The Madison
The
too.
Madison, I'm super excited about.
Tell
So
us about that.
that's will be out either later this year or early 2026 is what I'm hearing. It's a Taylor Sheridan show, so think the whole um, Yellowstone kind of universe, starring Michelle Pfeiffer. And again, I got to be in the pilot, and had to have a great scene with her. And they are saying, this is all out now, so I feel like I can talk about it. But the storyline is she plays wealthy New York. There's a wealthy New York family, and because of a crisis that happens in Montana, her family relocates there. So it's going to be some conversation and some drama around the kind of culture clash that we're seeing in the country between rural areas, city areas, people trying, and there's so much division in our country right now between some of those demographics. And so kind of trying to address that, what are our commonalities, what might bring someone there, and how would they struggle if they had to fit in there. And man, she's a powerhouse. She's an amazing cast. And that will be out soon. So that's my second Taylor Sheridan project, and man, is he an incredible storyteller. 1923, the second season of that just concluded, and it's just jaw dropping. Just
Mm.
everything he shoots is just epic,
Mm-hmm.
and 1,000% committed to every detail. He rounds up such good actors. I just feel lucky to be invited. It was really incredible.
Also, to The Man Who Changed the World.
Yeah, that's the one that I just shot, the Mother of 12. So that was shot here in Colorado, actually, with Wallace Shawn. Wallace Shawn came to Colorado and did a little turn in that movie. It's a Colorado homegrown story, but it's a real feature film. And I think there may be, I don't know how many actors were cast locally, but they brought in Wallace Shawn, and then the two leads, Christopher Lowell and Janine Mason, are both very established. You can look them up. Christopher Lowell was in Promising Young Woman. He was in Glow. The second you see him, you'll know him. He's so memorable and so good. So he plays the lead. And then Janine Mason has done a lot. She's an amazing actor, I think out of New York. She was a regular on the most recent incarnation of Roswell, and she plays the other lead, and they were great. They were really fun to work with. So that just wrapped. I would imagine that will be out end of the year or something. And Colorado just got Sundance. How about that?
That's what I heard, right?
Yeah, so who knows? I don't know if it'll make it easier or harder to have local films shown there, but they'll probably try, and it's sure going to be fun to have it here. It's so exciting.
That's
Yeah,
really, really
stuff
cool.
being shot in Utah. Two of my projects this year, the Mountainhead, the Jesse Armstrong thing, that shot in Utah.
You
And
get to do a lot of traveling?
yeah, oh yeah,
You love it?
it was crazy to do a film here. I was like, wait, what? I get to go home to my house? I don't have to. So yeah, I shot 3 times in LA last year, 3 or 4 in New York. Once in Texas, once in Montana, once in New Mexico. So yeah, that we don't have much of a film incentive here. So but it's a great place to be in the middle of it. Like Denver has an international airport, so it's very easy to get to wherever I need to be. And I keep thinking I should move to one coast or the other, but then if I move to New York, I'm so far away from LA. If I move to LA, I'm so I haven't figured out where the bulk of the work might be. Right,
Bi-coastal?
even. Yeah, right now it's pretty even. So if a project comes along that puts me for more time in one place or the other, then I would relocate. But now I'm just bouncing around. And then I have a bunch of stuff that I can't even talk about right now that'll come out next year that
As
I'm so
well. Were
excited
you in this too?
about. Yes, that was
Yes.
actually that was shot here. And those two faces, if you know Hallmark, that's
Mhm.
like Hallmark
Oh,
royalty.
these viewers that watch, they love Lifetime, they love Hallmark, they're big
Man,
fans of,
I mean,
yeah,
those two
all the Christmas movies and yeah.
yeah. They were great. And that was shot in Colorado. And boy, there's a Brian Bird, I think is his name, and what's the show? It's in Canada. When Calls the Heart or something like that. Oh boy, I'm butchering
Yeah,
it.
that's it. No, that is When
They
Calls the
are
Heart.
huge
Yeah.
fans, and I am too. But I just haven't talked about this for a while. But he lives in Colorado, and so he's committed. He's probably shot 3 or 4 films here, bringing these big people in, and then hiring some local actors. So I had a good chunk of time on that film, and then I just thought it turned out great. I think you can find it on Up TV, or I'm not sure you can find it now, but it's really fun. It's a play on like a
Yeah.
bachelor show. And then the one that he really loves isn't the one that he ends up picking. And then finally he makes his way to the right one. And it's just fun. It's super fun. I thought it turned out great. I thought it turned out really well. And those two are just absolute pros.
Is there a role that is out there that you haven't played yet? Of all these different fantastic roles, I mean, and the different characters.
Well, I'm a little bit afraid to answer that because I did an interview recently, and the interviewer asked me, if you could work with anyone, if you could, name your dream job. And you know what I answered? I said, I would love to work with anyone who has ever had anything to do with Succession. And a month later, I get that audition, and 2 weeks after that, I'm on set with Jesse Armstrong. So careful what you ask for. I better be careful, right? I sometimes fantasize about. I just think it's fascinating that when I was 30, if somebody told me that 20 years later I would be auditioning and just having this burgeoning career in film and TV. I'd be like, what? Don't women retire at 45 or 50? So I just think it's so cool that at my age, 50 plus, I am over 50 years old, well over 50 years old, that there's so much opportunity. So why not be something completely atypical for that age? Why not be a superhero? Why not be, I don't know. I think there could be some really fun stuff that you could do, because we're seeing a lot of that, like putting different types and roles that are usually reserved for something else. Seeing the typical bad guy be the hero, see the typical good guy be, conflicted. And, Walter White is a great example. The chemistry teacher trying to save his family and he ends up being Heisenberg. Like, why not be something that nobody would expect you to be? So maybe something along those lines. We'll see.
Do you like the behind the scenes writing, producing,
Yeah,
directing? Do you see more of that?
I actually just signed up for a directing class through Sundance Collab. So if anybody is interested, Sundance, the film festival, is a huge entity, and it has all sorts of workshops and labs, and they have a director's lab that is really, really competitive. Like thousands of people apply, and they pick 8 every year. But so that's very exclusive. They have a group now that they just announced it's going to be working on episodics, and that's a huge interview process. But they also have these writing workshops and directing workshops, and just, I want to know about the industry, that are really accessible, and they're all online. So I start that in a couple of weeks, and I'm really excited, because I think that will be invaluable in understanding the process, understanding the whole art form a little bit. So when I step in and I'm trying to solve those problems, I really know what everybody else is trying to solve.
Right.
I'm excited about that. And I do have some really great ideas for stories and writing. I think if I ever ventured into that more, I would want to do it with someone. I think it's a tough discipline to do alone. Just knowing myself, it'd be hard to sit down for 6 hours a day and write something. But I do have some good ideas, and I kind of want to know a little bit more before I start thinking about trying to develop those. So I'm excited about that.
That's cool. There's so much on your plate, which is absolutely extraordinary, huh? It
Well,
just doesn't.
keep auditioning. We'll see what's next. I've got a couple things out there that I'm excited to hear back on. And every day that I get an audition, I'm working. I'm like, this is great. I
Well,
can do this little movie today. So
something else that people might not realize is that you've had this loving and adoring 20-year stint as narrator and storyteller with the Colorado Symphony Orchestra.
yeah.
What's that like?
So that was one of my jobs. I just gave that up maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but for 20 years, I got to work with the Colorado Symphony Orchestra, doing programs in schools. There was a guy, a cellist, who wrote this great body of work that was like Aesop's fables or certain stories with orchestral music set to them. So you'd have a storyteller telling the story of Peter and the Rabbit or whatever it was, and he wrote original music that went with it. So we did audio recordings of those, and then we'd also go into schools and perform them. He also wrote a program called Math Notes, right up my alley, with my super handy degree in math. And that we would perform at Better Concert Hall, which seats, 2,500. They would ship in 2,500 4th through 8th graders. And we had this whole program that talked about the connection between math and music, and, played amazing orchestral pieces. And then we talked about the, mathematical sense and relationship between music and math concepts. He also had Music of Life, which was a story of, which was connecting science and nature with music. So that was, I can't tell you what the experience is like to stand on a stage with a full orchestra behind you and hear that music being played. You almost feel like your particles are just going to get blown to bits and be part of something glorious. You know how when you participate, you've done this, where you participate in a play or something, and you feel like you're bigger than, something bigger than you, and you just kind
Very
of
grand, and yeah.
To be that close on the stage with the music, the vibration of the music, literally, I felt like my being will not withstand this. I am going to become particulates of music in a minute. Like I'm just going to be vaporized by the timpani,
Yeah, all enveloped by the sound.
And it's like the
Yeah.
vibrational force. If you don't believe that sound.
No, it's incredible. I've had that grand opportunity several times. I'm seeing holiday concerts at Carnegie Hall
Oh, stop.
with the orchestra and the chorus and all behind and as the host and MC. And there's nothing really, it's tough to,
Yeah.
it's
Well, and you
just
feel
really,
it when you go as an audience member. It made me a more avid audience member too. It reminded me of how much I love music, and I love symphony music. I grew up playing classical piano, and
do you
so
still play? Do you still play?
I do. I play a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my brain.
That's your go-to, your getaway,
Not
yeah.
that I play particularly well. I don't play for anyone else but myself, but it feels good and it's fun. But the difference between being in the audience and being on the stage, and I think somehow thinking to yourself, okay, when this song is done, everybody's going to look at me and I'm going to have to resume talking as if my mind wasn't just blown. I think that's what the difference is. When you're an audience member, you can just sit back and be like, whoa, I'm experiencing it. But to all of a sudden have to
Then you have to follow up and
wrangle,
let's
I have
check
to
what
find
I just
my voice.
did.
Okay, it's all okay. Here we go. Now, yeah,
But
that's
you're feeling it. You're really
yeah,
feeling
you
it
really do.
deeply.
It is a rewiring to the highest in the highest order.
What are some things that Amie likes to do to balance it all away from acting, away from television, away from film and all of the demands and the creativity in that? What
Yeah.
are some things that are the antithesis, like you mentioned, the piano and music? For me, music's big. The ocean, swim. We're here on the coast, the East Coast, so swimming in the ocean, being near the ocean is huge for me as well. It's very invigorating. I've just
Yeah.
talked about it many times here on this show, but it's life renewing for me being in the ocean.
Yeah.
How about you? Are some things that you like to do in your life?
But I'm a big outdoor person. I mean, Colorado, you can't help but want to be outside at all times. So I do a lot of outdoor sports. And I have a little rescue dog that I walk all the time. I walk outside. I don't listen to anything when I walk. I walk probably 3 to 5 miles a day with my dog, in a couple different chunks. And I just get so much out of being out in the world and, being with my own thoughts and breathing fresh air. I'm a big meditator. I went through a horrible, horrible cancer in 2006 and almost died. And out of that recovery came a really focused practice in meditation and Reiki and mindfulness. And so I do a lot of yoga. All the things that, sound kind of woo woo, but that has been the
Yeah,
silver
great.
lining
Yeah,
that
no,
I've really learned how to, um, bring myself to a centered space and kind of shut out the world and just be. And I think that if you don't have that kind of practice, it is just life changing. You can do anything when you know how to bring yourself back and just get quiet and just be. And because we're all human doings, we're all doing a lot and it's fun. That's a part of this life, is to do a bunch of stuff, but it can get crazy really fast if you don't have that center, whatever it is. I mean, I think people lean on they lean
hmm,
on their families, on their whatever, whatever brings you the solace and the peace of just being locked into just being is so valuable. And
have
so,
you with that experience that you went through, as you mentioned, and thanks for sharing that and being so real and authentic about it. Have you done any talks or motivational speaking or anything, talking to others who may be going through things that are similar?
yeah, well, not so much, I really debated on that. I had a friend that went through a similar cancer at the same time, and she's really made her life about fundraising for some of that. And I think my take on it was the faster I can have that stop being the thing that defines me, the better. So for my healing and my moving through it, I really needed to not be the cancer person. So I needed to not do that. But the thing that I have continued with is Reiki. Is this getting too woo woo? As part of
Oh,
my
Reiki's fantastic.
yeah, as
Yeah.
part of my medical treatment, there was a program here in Colorado called Life Spark, and I won't promote them all day long, but they provide free healing touch and Reiki to people going through cancer treatment. I was really resistant at first. I was like, what? Like another appointment? I weighed 90 pounds. I didn't want to go anywhere. It was December. I'd put on my full ski clothes every day because I was just constantly freezing. And I just did not want to go. And that Reiki experience is really the cornerstone of everything that has grounded me since then. So I've done things for that organization, and my goal. So then I got certified to be a Reiki practitioner. And
That's
so my
great.
goal, and soon, I think in the next year or two, I want to go back and be a volunteer for them and do for someone else what was done for me. So I will contribute in that way. But I just didn't. I don't know. I don't feel bad about it. I just think everybody has to do their own healing and their own process. And for me, it was about, I don't want to identify the rest of my life as, oh, it's my whatever anniversary. Oh, I went through, just continually bringing it up. It was the sooner I was not the sick person, the better for me. Cause my way of getting through it is, this is just a phase. I am not a sick person. I'm not the sick person. I am a well person. And that got me
That
through
may
it.
have helped you through it, right? Yeah.
I think
That
I don't
positive
judge anybody for the way they do it, but
mindfulness and right.
yeah. I think just knowing that it wasn't always going to be my story. It was one chapter. So,
What are some of those continued blessings and joys in your life, Amie, that keep you connected, keep you wanting to create, keep you wanting to get us to be entertained and to be
yeah.
curious and to think about life and be moved and motivated by the roles and the characters, whether they're comedic or they're dramatic or what have you? What are some of the blessings and joys in your life that sort of fill your cup and light your fire as you go along?
Well, when you say that, what it makes me think of is, I think one of the reasons I'm so happy on a set, and I keep seeking that out, is because a little bit of what we talked about before. When you get into an environment where everybody is just working their hardest, and I mean working so hard. The people that make film and TV, the hours they work, the physical work that they do, the blood, sweat, and tears that they go through to create that show that you watch while you're eating dinner is just so incredible.
Been
And
there, done that. I know what you're talking about.
when
Yeah.
you're in that world and you're seeing this person at their highest level, that person at their highest level, this person that's been incubating the script for 20 years and now it's finally coming to fruition and you're invited to come be a part of it. I always say collaborative art, I really think is humans at their best. That is humans at their best. It's humans saying, hey, I'm a really good screenwriter, but I can't do jack without somebody coming to perform this. Who are we going to get to perform this? Who do you know that? And when humans come together and they bring their talents and their joy and their skill and their goodwill and their hard work and their full heart into a project, and you get a bunch of people doing that at a really high level, there is no better example of humanness, of humanity. And I think in a world now where there is so much focus on, what am I getting for me? What kind of car am I going to get? How am I going to save for my retirement? How everybody's kind of like, we're sort of tribal and sort of individualistic.
Me,
Me,
right.
my borders, on a national level, on a personal level. And you have to be kind of you have to work hard to protect yourself. But when you venture out and you offer what you have to offer and you invite others to do the same, and you recognize brilliance in other people, and you invite it to connect with whatever, everybody's brilliant at one thing or another, and we build each other up, and it truly is humans at their best. And I think the more we can incorporate that into everything we do, the better. And so, yeah, I get a lot of inspiration from those sets and those people that are working so hard to bring their art to life for the rest of us. And I get so much out of my kids, and I've got kids. I'm about to be a grandma. Oh my
Oh, wow.
goodness.
Congratulations. What a role that is.
I'm going to have my first grandbaby. So I may just disappear for the last quarter of my life.
Are the kids at all in this industry?
They've dabbled in it. Both my kids are really good singers and musicians. They're both good actors. I always just joke and say, I don't know, they just don't have the desperate need for attention that I do. But they both have done some of it. My younger son especially did a lot of, commercials and stuff like that. But they have a lot of other interests. And I think they both think, yeah, one day that might be fun to do some of that. They stay open to it. But
Would you like to be in something with them?
oh
Have
yeah,
them?
wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
We do lots of dorky things. We do lots of little, singing things and fun things together. And I make them play my stupid games and do stupid things with me. But yeah, it would be really fun. I would love it if one of them would jump in. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe they'll come to it later in life like I did. I mean, I've been doing it forever, but maybe they'll get an interest in the film and TV world. Who
So it
knows?
sounds like you're in a sweet spot. It's like a full circle. You've put the time in. You've been doing it for a long time. You've had the navigation of different roles and different worlds and different opportunities, and have made the best of all of it. And you're enjoying the ride. You're learning from it.
Oh man.
I'm sure sharing the gifts with others as well. And you're in a good place. Not every day is perfect, and it's not supposed to be. That's living life. But you are in a spot where there's some contentment, the time put in, relishing some of the benefit of the work. Opportunities continue to arise, which means people really are appreciating and respecting your craft. It's a nice place to be. It's not easy. It never is, but it's a nice place to be, isn't it, Amy?
Yeah, I think it is nice. I think it's not, there's a lot to be said for whatever wisdom you can glean from the years you've spent on this planet. And people, I get asked to talk sometimes about how did you get there? How did you make all this happen? And I think the only thing I can say is that I just kind of followed my heart and kept my eyes and ears open. And if something sounded right, I pursued it. And if it didn't, I'd go in another direction. So I don't think there's any formula. But I think it's about being true to yourself and following your heart and really listening. And then I think for a lot of people, I think it's okay I've had friends that have kind of started getting to this level and they're like, you know what, that's just not for me. I'd rather stay local and do some theater. I get much more out of working for 6 weeks, really in depth with a group of people. I don't want to be flying all over and, just jumping in for a day. So, it's okay to think your dream is one thing and then shift and do something else. And, yeah, lo and behold, it's all kind of worked out. There are a lot of times over the years where I really wondered if it would, but it just seems like, decisions have been pretty solid along the way. And I feel like I'm really lucky to be in this spot now and just so delighted that I keep getting invited to come play. That's all I want.
And to be in such a demanding and ever-changing industry, and to have successfully navigated being a mother and all those responsibilities, and juggling all the different balls in the air, as well as is heroism at its finest, for sure, really. And it's extraordinary. What would have plan B been if this didn't happen or work out, or just wasn't the thing for you after tasting it and trying it? What was it? Being a math teacher? I mean, what would have been the other thing?
I think I just have always wanted to hold place for all of it. I don't think there is one thing. I think my life will be, at the end of the day, my life is going to be defined by being open to so many different things, and I do feel like the true calling for me is to be an actor, to be reflecting back what somebody has written as another character as part of a story. I feel like I have a propensity for that. But I feel like I fit into a lot of different worlds, and I feel like I'm interested in so many different things. So if I can continue to, who knows what will be next? Maybe one of my symphony friends will call and have a thing they want to put together that, ties together some other. I'm open to all of it, right? So, and I was a math teacher. That was the second step. After I was in New York, I came back and I taught math for a while, and then all summer I'd do summer stock theater and one professional show so I was running off to rehearsals after being a math teacher. So I just have held space for a lot of different things. I'm kind of a generalist. I think it's okay to say, I don't want to be, the best surgeon in the world. I want to be someone who knows a little bit about what it's like to be the best surgeon in the world, because I played one on TV. And then I want to know a little bit about the best lawyer, and I want to know about the meth head that I played. And I want to know, I'm just truly, my heart is in the place of being a generalist and really trying to understand as much as I can about this wacky, wacky human experience we're all having. So.
And you've shared some of it with us here on the show, my friend. This was really a fantastic conversation. Some
Oh,
of
it's so nice to meet you. I really appreciate the opportunity. You've been really fun, and your experience was fun to hear about. I hope you talk about that, because I got a little taste of that before the show started, and I'd love to hear more about what you're doing, because you sound like you have a lot of irons in the fire as well.
Well, I was mentioning a story to Amie, and she dove right in, which was terrific because she had this opportunity to appreciate this guest. She, was watching some of the episodes of the Jim Master Show series, and I had mentioned, the many episodes we've done, a couple of thousand, what have you, in the time that we've been doing it. And I mentioned Loretta Swit from MASH, the legendary actress who's been with us, and the amazing conversation. She was in her apartment in Manhattan. She had her dog with her. She showed us the paintings. She talked about everything she's done. And you have a wonderful brief story that in reference to Loretta Swit, right?
So in my 3 brief months at Circle in the Square in New York, they had, I guess maybe it was a series or something, but they brought in speakers, and one of the speakers they brought in was Loretta Swit, and who knows how old she was at that time, but MASH was over. But she, I grew up on MASH. What an era to grow up into. What was it? MASH and the Carol Burnett Show, and just these incredible, iconic shows. But she came in, and it was just in a small theater in the Round, so it was pretty intimate. And she just talked to us. So if you get to talk to her again, tell her she maybe came in yearly to talk to the students, but if she remembers that, I was one of the students sitting in there hanging on every word. And what I told you, what I remembered about it was I was certainly old enough and, with it enough to understand that people were not their characters.
Oh, right.
A little bit struck by how, she's nothing like, the character she played on MASH. She was she's recognizable and everything, but she was just so gracious and so articulate, so thoughtful. I just remember her being really, really compelling and really wonderful.
Who are some other folks you've admired in the industry over the years as well?
Oh man, there are just so many. I think of, as I was busy beating cancer and raising kids and watching kind of a little bit, had the feeling of watching the world go by, in Denver doing theater and working with the symphony and all those things, but not really in the mix that I'm in now, watching like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler and all the stuff they were doing. I was like, oh man, I wish somebody would have known, that trajectory existed when I was in college. I would have loved to. Kristen Wiig is another one. The whole SNL, canon of people. Those people were amazing. So many great actors whose careers it's been fun to watch from the beginning, and just not have them turn out to be what you expected. Like Joaquin Phoenix, who would expected, his career to become what it's been. Like, he's been so fun to watch and such an evolution. And to just such a live life of interesting characters. And oh man, too many to list really, but those were good years. Those were good years watching and learning and seeing what people were doing and seeing and then to only see opportunities grow for women my age. Who would have ever thought that it would be okay to wait till you're in your 50s to start doing this? And lo and behold, I'm having a heyday. So that's been just such a great surprise. I think so many women blaze that trail for us, the women that have gone before, that have continued.
Absolutely. Lay the groundwork, right?
And Gina Davis out there just pounding the pavement about equality and diversity and, hearing voices. We need all voices. We need all voices represented. We need to listen to everybody.
That's it. Everybody's invited to the party. Absolutely, my friend. A real treat having you here on the show and to learn about your craft and why you do what you do, and the passion and enthusiasm for the work and for life and all the different things you've navigated. This was really a fantastic conversation. And we're going to keep, as I always say for all the guests, we're going to keep that porch light on for you, Amie. Keep us posted on all the cool things that are happening. Congratulations on everything so far. and spread the word about our show, of course. And I really hope you enjoy the time with me as much as
I loved
have
it.
with
I love
you.
it. And I can't wait to go. I've been watching a little bit. I can't wait to go back and watch more. I watched a little bit of Erik Roberts. That was really fun. What an amazing guy that is. Yeah, I love interviews. I listen to a lot of interviews when I'm driving and traveling. And so I will catch myself up. You're doing a great thing here, and how fun to give us this platform. I really appreciate it.
The pleasure is all mine. And as Amie mentioned, Loretta Swit, gang, she was a guest on our show. So you can see that episode archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, the incomparable Loretta Swit, the incomparable, wonderful Amie MacKenzie here on the show. Really amazing, terrific stuff. And again, congratulations on it all. And you've worked hard, you've earned it all. And gratitude is something that you practice often, and that's an important part of it all. And I think that's why people enjoy working with you, and they want to work with you more.
I hope so. Because
It's an ongoing succession of success.
Yes. Oh, are you excited for that movie? I cannot wait. It's going to be so fun.
Congratulations. Is there a website that people can go to or anything?
My IMDb is always
the IMDb, right?
And I don't really have a actor's website.
Yeah.
I just find that it's all out there anyway.
It's all out there anyway, right? Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge social media person, but I'm out there. People can find me. But yeah, my IMDb is out, and yeah, just keep an eye out on some of these things that are coming out.
Stay tuned.
I have a little bit of insider information now about some
couple of little teasers she threw out there. You got to look for, folks.
Yeah, there's going to be good stuff out this year. It's going to be fun.
Amie, you're a blast. Thanks for stopping by the show. We really appreciate it. And you're welcome back anytime. Okay. It was a real pleasure to have you with us today.
Thanks so much.
You be well. Take care now.
Bye-bye.
All right. See you on the tube.
Yep.
Take care.
Bye.
Amie MacKenzie joining us here on the Jim Masters Show, Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series. How cool was that, huh? What a really nice person, really delightful. And she knows what it's all about. She's worked very hard. As you can see, she's the real deal. She's open. She's real. She feels things. She shares it. No airs about her at all, which is rare in these industries. She's somebody who cares. She takes on the role with 110% of vim and vigor, and she has worked on so many different shows too, and all these different characters and all these different roles and scenarios for her that I think is absolutely amazing. We just showed you just some shots here, some randoms. You can see all the different looks too, and all the different styles, and it's cool stuff. Really, really talented, a super talent. And her work and her, love of it just continues going down memory lane, talking about some of the productions, upcoming productions, current productions, some really cool productions she's had an opportunity to jump into as well. Great stories about AJ and the Queen. And even Dexter, original Sin as well. We showed this one earlier because that's the original series a lot of people knew. And then, of course, this as well. And she was a part of this. And Better Call Saul, the very first super large opportunity for her. What a cool one to have had, right? That's a real blessing for her, and she appreciates it all. Amie MacKenzie here on the Jim Masters Show. Thank you for joining us as well, everybody. I'm your host, Jim Masters, thanking you for your time. This time till next time. If you enjoyed this episode, we absolutely love hearing from our viewers who watch and support from all around the world. We hear from everywhere. We hear from America and Canada, all of North and South America. We hear from Asia and Europe and Australia, our friends in the UK and everywhere else. And we thank you for all of that love and support. Give this episode a thumbs up, like if you loved it. I wish they had a love button, right? They do have the heart there. Click like, that helps us. And also share the episode on your social media. This is archived on the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Helps us grow. And leave a comment in the comments section. We really appreciate hearing from you. We love the interaction, and it's always a blessing. You guys be well. We'll be right here waiting for you in Lovely Hall for the next episode of JMS, the Jim Masters Show. Don't forget to love one another, take care of one another, and do the very same for yourself. It is so important. Talked about some of that with Amie on the show today. Thanks for being with us. We love you all. You be well. We'll be right here waiting for you on the next episode of the Jim Masters Show. Be well and cheers.